Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your
hosts,
Mike.
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic.
All right. So where did we leave off in our Australia trip?
We left off right before the wedding. We talked about the Maru. We talked about Phillips Island. We talked about the drive to Phillips Island.
Did we talk about our evening and morning before the wedding?
No.
So...
We stopped as we pulled up to the Airbnb. How about that?
Okay, so we get to the Airbnb, and when we first get there, only Ash is there.
Yeah.
And then other people started arriving. Mm-hmm. So the total was Ash's friend Ellie and her boyfriend Nick.
Yep. I don't remember any of their names.
You don't remember anyone's names?
No, I'm terrible.
There was Natalie.
Okay. Oh, and I guess Brandon.
And Brandon.
Was the other half of Natalie.
Okay. And I can't remember who was with...
Nadine
and Josh. Thank you. So you did remember names. So you had...
Eventually.
So to recap, you had Ellie and Nick, Nadine and Josh, Natalie and Brandon. Okay.
And Ash and us.
And Ash and us.
All in
You
one
and me.
Airbnb.
All in one Airbnb. But it was huge. It was 3 stories. It had a huge living room with a giant kitchen and a nice dining area. And then it had a den on the 3rd floor, which was outside our bedroom. And then it had like a common area downstairs as well.
And a bunch of weird Australian bathrooms, bathrooms without toilets.
It was strange. It was really weird. But we got to know her friends, and they're all really nice. Every single one of them is really, really nice.
Yes.
Super nice people. And their significant others were also very nice. Mm-hmm. I would have to say, without a single one, they were all super duper nice. Every last one of them. And I really enjoyed getting to know all of them and interacting with them. And it was kind of special to be there for the whole, watching them get ready. And I mean...
Yeah.
Think about it. I've never experienced that before.
Wow.
Never.
It's not super exciting.
It was for me. I mean, it was kind of...
I guess you kind of have to experience that one time in your life.
Well, yeah.
No, men usually don't. I mean, because usually...
It was interesting to observe.
Yeah.
Like, it really was. And, the camaraderie between the girls, and how they were watching out for each other and they had each other's back. And... in some instances, they had only, just met, yet they were tight. I don't think they all knew his sister.
I think they did know his sister. Maybe not, as well as they know Ash.
That's what I'm talking about.
But it's a small town.
But that's what I'm talking about. Well, yeah, but she doesn't even live in that town, his sister.
But she lives 35 seconds away from that town.
It's longer than that.
It wasn't that far. Not that far.
It was halfway to Sale, and Sale was 45 minutes.
All right.
I mean, we could look it up if you want to, but no real reason to. I'm always right, so just go with it. You should see the eye rolls.
He thinks he's always
real.
right, but half the time he's wrong, and I just don't want to argue with him.
She's never proven me wrong yet.
Yes,
Not
I have.
once.
Multiple times.
Never. It's
Multiple
never happened.
times.
It's never happened. Anyway, back to the wedding. This one is still on a high, of course, from meeting the koala bear. She loved the koala bear. The koala bear loved her too, though. The koala bear ate more eucalyptus when she was petting her than when I was petting her, so she liked her better. She was more comfortable with her.
10 minutes. 10 minutes away. where
Okay,
Natalie
well, that's
lives
more than 35
versus-
seconds, so
versus-
you lose.
But it's also
And
not
I win.
halfway to Sale.
And I win.
So you also lose.
I win.
No.
Yep. I'm closer to correct than you.
You are not, actually.
Yes, I am. I'm closer to correct than you. You lose when you say it's 35 seconds because you way underestimated.
And you way overestimated.
Overestimating's okay because this means
You were
I
off by,
plan.
like,
I would
12 and a
plan
half
to
minutes.
leave. I would plan to leave by.
I was only off by
25
9 and a
minutes.
half minutes.
I'd plan to leave by 25 minutes and I'd get there in 10. That's a better result than planning to get there in 45 seconds and getting there in 10.
People, he doesn't even remember what I said, number of seconds wise.
35, 45, 55. It was under a minute.
You're under a minute.
And the whole point is that you're planning on going under a minute and it takes you 10 minutes. That's a bad thing. But if you're planning on going 40 minutes and it takes you 10 minutes, that's a good thing.
I think that entirely depends on if you're actually excited to get to your destination or not.
Why would you be going somewhere you don't want to go?
Sometimes it happens.
I don't do that. Ever. If you see me somewhere, it's because I want to be there.
Anyway, back to the wedding.
So, this is where the fun part kind of starts, actually.
Oh, is it?
Well, for me, I think it was funny. So, it's time for the wedding. It's getting there. And this one here goes with the significant other van.
Yep.
That's what that became, was the significant other van. Because I had, obviously, a pivotal role to play. I was walking my daughter down the aisle, so...
Oh, you had an important role. Yes, you did.
I had a pivotal role.
It's to stand there and hold back tears.
And look ugly, which I did a good job of. That was probably the thing I did the best. Anyway,
You're right, because you didn't hold back the tears very well.
the nice thing, the nice thing was like getting to know the ladies the night before. You know, getting to know who they are, chit chatting with all of them, and kind of knowing their significant others better. It was nice because now we're going there, and they had hired like this VW Bug with a driver who had a GoPro running inside there to take the boys to church, well, to the venue. Wasn't really a church, was it? Well, it kind of was.
It
right?
was a church.
It was a chapel there. I'm going
Chapel,
to go to the
whatever.
venue. And then she came to pick the girls and me up. Well, first funny part was she's like, oh, no. They've got a lot of footage of me driving the van if they need it as B-roll because I forgot to turn the camera off. So she was running the GoPro the whole entire time. And then she goes, I'm really glad that I told them that it was okay to install the electrical outlet to the GoPro or we wouldn't have any battery. And I was sitting there thinking, you're right. I'm really glad you have it that way because you're also right. You'd run out of battery by now, which isn't really true.
It was only like 5 minutes between where all the girls were staying and us and the venue. Like, it was not very far.
Yeah.
It was a quick drive.
It was further for the boys.
Much further. Because I got there because I'd gone with probably before you guys even left the house.
Yeah. More like.
And told Matt, when you guys were leaving, they'll be on their way. It's not going to take them very long to get here. And he was like, oh, it's a long drive. It's a long drive. And then he went about what he was doing.
Well, then we
And
get
this
there.
is relevant for a reason.
Yes, we get there, and they're still standing outside.
Yeah, everyone.
And Ash is freaking out, like, oh my God, you can't see me. And so, thankfully this driver was really good. She kind of pulled back, and the photographer saw us, and she ran over to tell everybody to go inside. So we kind of make this left turn, and we hide behind these bushes. And I can still see clearly because I'm on the left side of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. On the opposite side as the driver, and I can see around the bush, and I can see that the guys are still there. So then, Ash's mom is texting me, and now mind you, it's 10 minutes till this said time for the wedding, 10 minutes. And she's texting me going, well, how does this live thing work? And I'm like, you just go on Facebook page that you joined for Ash, and boom, there's the live, there'll be a post with the live in there, and you just click it and go. Oh, okay, well,
the live streaming
clearly,
was my job.
She goes, clearly it's not going to start in the next 10 minutes. And I said, well, actually, I'm watching the boys go in right now. It's going to start right now. And sure enough, you then texted me telling me that it was starting. Mm-hmm. So then Ash is like, well, now what do we do? I'm like, well, now we go there, and now we line up, right? Well, we start lining up backwards, her and me first, and then the girls. And I'm like, no. We're supposed to go last, ladies. Let's switch this around, And the bus driver lady was trying to guide us too, and she was laughing too, like, "Oh, you guys are so funny. You're screwing this all up, you know." And so we move around.
Told you they needed to rehearse twice, and it wasn't for the boys.
And then she goes. She goes. The first girl goes, you know, and apparently that set Matt off, you know.
The second his sister came through the doors, blubbering.
That set him off. And then we're standing there now. All the ladies are in, and it's me and Ash, and we're standing there, and I think we both saw the same thing. We both saw Matt, and his eyes are so red and puffy from crying that we both start going, "Oh my God, that makes me feel so bad that he's been crying," and then we start crying, and then we're walking in, and it's like you're trying to hold your composure, but you're already crying because that guy's in tears, and you're just like amazed at like, why is he so emotional about this? You know, like sort of.
Maybe
shocking.
he was excited to marry your daughter.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking though, like how excited. Like, I don't know. He's always so stoic in front of me that it was kind of nice to see the emotional side of him. It really was. As I've told my daughter, it really changed my viewpoint of him. Not that I had a bad viewpoint of him. It went from, let's say, a 7 to a 9, just like that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, it went from good to great because of that. That's important to note. But
so
anyway,
they sniffled their way down the aisle.
We struggled our way down, and, you know, everyone could see we were crying, you know, and then
they could hear it on the live stream.
Off she goes, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching this thing go down. And
you could hear you sniffling in that part of the live stream,
and it was
too.
interesting because, it was a little bit different than weddings I'm used to. It was very, very Australian from what I've heard from other people who were there. It was a very typical Australian wedding. It was pretty. Like, you know, I just thought some of the interactions were kind of neat. The way they guided it and whatnot.
Like their gross, weird mixed shot of gin and whiskey?
Yeah, that was interesting because, you know, that's one of the things they like to do together. They like to go and have drinks. That's something they like to do. So it made sense for them to use that as a symbol of joining together. But yeah, what a weird thing. You know? What would we have ended up with? What would you have picked?
Vodka?
And I would have picked tequila. What a weird
That
mix.
would have been awful.
What a weird, gross mix.
This is why we didn't get Australian married.
See? Like,
really the entire reason.
You know, we can't do this, you know, in a big wedding, this tequila and vodka. Yuck. Bad stuff.
Did you hear? I asked her after, a couple days later, how gross the shot was, and she said they'd tried it out with a bunch of different kinds of gin and a bunch of different kinds of whiskey to see which ones weren't gross together.
So they had tried it ahead of time?
Yeah.
And they still went with it.
She said it was really good.
Really?
They found like a lemony gin and a lighter whiskey. And so the lemon really went with the whiskey and made it less strange, apparently.
Huh. That's an interesting story, actually.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that one before, I don't think. Anyway, then after the wedding,
they went and took 2 hours of photos.
They went to take some pictures, and quite a lot of pictures. It was like an hour and a half of pictures. Yeah. But they had like some, you know, hors d'oeuvres out and like the charcuterie board thing, you know, that was out. And you could pay for drinks if you wanted drinks. So we started drinking wine.
We had Coke. We just had
Didn't
regular
we drink wine in the beginning.
We had regular Coke until the drinks became free.
Huh. Okay. Maybe that's true. I don't remember. I just don't remember.
And then as soon as Ash and Matt arrived, we got a wine because that's when drinks became free.
Okay. Well, whatever. It was an interesting night. We had a lot of fun dancing and, you know, having a good time with them.
We also had a lot of wine.
We drank a lot of wine. But like some people got super friendly. That was weird. And not people you would expect to get super friendly. Like people who you hadn't spent any time with. It's not like you had spent time with like 8 other people and one of the 8 of them got a little extra friendly. It was just some weird person who you just met there at the wedding is suddenly like, hey, and, you know, putting their arm around you and you're like,
you were a novelty.
Wow.
Like they all wanted to be your best friend and they all wanted to dance with you and they all wanted to drink with you. But
the interesting thing is, I tried to figure out why that was, okay? And I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm an older guy and I'm out there having a party with them. But there was other older guys out there having a party with them.
You were a novelty. You were
Why?
an American.
So what?
And you were Ash's dad. So they all like Ash. And you're an American. So they wanted to hang out with you because you were a novelty.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Well, they did kind of make me feel like a celebrity. I will give you that.
Think about it.
And it teaches me something, okay? I have one thing I still have to learn how to do, and that's accept complimentary behavior towards me. When someone behaves in a complimentary way towards me, I get like, ooh, what do I do? Oh, how weird. How do I accept this gracefully? And I get all weird about it. And all awkward, and like, oh. And that's how I was feeling at the wedding.
The wine made you a lot less awkward, though.
But it made me, I could still feel it. And I was just like, oh, they're being nice to me. I don't like it. Can they stop?
He's cringing right now harder than I've ever seen him cringe before.
It was so creepy to me. And I don't know why I get that way about complimentary.
Because they were just being nice.
Someone could be like, you know what? You're a fucking asshole. And I'd be like, okay, that's good. Happy for you. Wouldn't care even a little bit. But for some reason, when someone's like, oh my gosh, I want to get to know you better, then I'm like, what? You want to do what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could pay attention. I'm calling you out.
I know what you were saying.
Pay attention.
Sorry, the Cyrus is just so pretty.
Well, they can't see that. It is an audio medium, not a video. We could add video if you'd like. I could put a camera right here. No. It would capture both of us. And we could have a grand podcast.
Then I have to brush my hair. And
we could have a grand podcast. It'd be amazing. Anyway, maybe the audience should tell us what they think about that. info@yogispodcastnetwork.com. Do we go to video or no?
My vote is no.
So if you don't answer, then the answer is yes, we go to video.
No.
You don't get a vote.
I do too.
No, you don't, because we would just cancel each other out. So there's no point. You don't get a vote, I don't get a vote. The only people that get a vote are those people. Fair enough.
Anyway, back to the wedding.
Back to the wedding. So we did have a good time, though, right? I mean, we had fun. I actually felt bad because your ankle was bothering you still.
Well, it's still bothering me like a month and a half later, so there's that.
Is it as bad as it was?
Today, it's pretty bad.
Well, you know what, then? I hate to say it, but you're going to need to wrap that sucker up every day. And it needs support because what's happening is it's not getting enough support, so it can't heal. Why'd you turn the light on? Suddenly it got bright in the podcast studio.
Not a visual medium.
It got bright in the podcast studio. I'm describing it. I'm giving them the visual meaning. I'm giving them the visual medium.
You're a freak.
Anyway, that was probably the best wedding I've ever been to as far as like me being involved. They made it was more the people that were there in attendance. They made it feel so comfortable to like let loose and have a good time.
Well, and it was pretty drama-free. I mean, there was a couple of little weird things, but overall, the whole wedding was drama-free.
Well, and they didn't... You're right. It was drama-free. There was no judgment. Like, people weren't looking at you like, oh. Or, like, one of the big ones was, our age gap. We did not get any crap for that at all.
That's because we weren't the only ones with an age gap.
Well, and I didn't sense that at all as a problem there. I think their society is very accepting of it.
Yeah, less judgmental than Americans. I guess it really doesn't take much, does it?
Right, and that's kind of where I was going with that, was that, the judgment level was minuscule. I mean, there wasn't any judgment. I mean, the lady that we talked about the last time at lunch summed up the Australian attitude, right? She told them to, what was it? If they mess with you, tell them to...
Get stuffed.
Go get stuffed. Yeah, that was right. See, that's kind of the Australians' attitude, like, you don't like me? Go get stuffed. Yep. So, you know what? I think that people should just go get stuffed. I mean, why not? We should all go get stuffed. Every one of us. We deserve it. We've done something shitty at some point in time. We should all go get stuffed.
Whatever you say, man.
Okay, well.
What?
So then we we went back to the Airbnb that night after the wedding was over.
Well, I would hope so.
And, well, here's where I was different this vacation. I did not have an alarm set that morning.
Okay.
Because normally I would. I'd be like, okay, we need to get back to Traralgon because we need to finish our last day there, and then we're going to Melbourne in the morning. You know, that's how I would have normally been. Like, I would have been like, Mr., we're leaving at this time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't do that.
It was easier that you weren't.
I didn't do that, you know, and I just let us sleep. You slept later than me, but then you woke up.
I love that we call 7 a.m. late now.
Yes,
That's how
late.
early we usually wake up. 7 a.m. is now late.
Yep. So you got up, then we went and had breakfast, and then we had, that was a little bit of an adventure that we don't need to talk about. But anyway, back to the Traralgon we went. And then the next morning, we did some exploring in Traralgon. Isn't that the day we went to the cat cafe, or had we already been to the cat cafe?
That was the cat cafe.
That was the day. So yeah, we went to a cat cafe, and it's basically a cat rescue. And the way that they allow you to visit the cats is via the cat cafe that they charge you a small amount of money for.
Yeah, we just bought a drink and paid $2 each to get in.
Yeah, it was super
and they gave
cheap.
us treats for the meow meows.
Yeah, we could feed the meow meows, and the meow meows would come over, and they were very sweet, and would pet them. But I think it's a brilliant idea for a cat rescue. I really do. So to be continued. We are talking about, we are the Zoo Media Network, and our zoo has kind of depleted. We might need to replenish some zoo. Just saying.
Your words when I said we needed 7 cats was, no, I don't want any more cats. And since then, you have talked multiple times about adding cats.
No, I don't want more cats. I want another dog.
No.
Yes, I want one more dog. One more. I want big-sized wiener dog.
So go get Diego back.
No, Diego's happy where he is. He loves his little home that he's in.
He would have loved the Saurus, too.
Yeah, well, he didn't love Yogi.
This is true.
Yogi didn't love him. It was unfortunate.
Back to Australia.
So off we go the next morning to Melbourne after the Cat Cafe adventure and all that.
Yeah.
We had dinner with the family.
Said goodbye to everyone.
Said our goodbyes to everyone. Hugs, kisses, bye. Matt and Ash were going to go on their honeymoon the next day or the day after, actually. And so we boogied on to Melbourne, and we had a 2-day stay planned there. And the first day,
it was great.
We found parking.
Went to this museum
City was fucking beautiful, guys. Like the architecture. Some of the buildings are meant to look like a giant wind sail, and they built the building that way to look like a giant wind sail.
It was like a combination of like dark Gothic architecture and ultra modern.
Yeah, it felt like, she's right. It felt like super modern Batman.
Yes. It was Batman.
Authentic Batman.
Yes.
Not like, fake Batman, that you see. I'm talking authentic, like Dark Knight Batman. But more modern.
Old churches built in like the old English church style, but the bricks were dark gray.
Right.
Like no red brick anything.
Right.
Dark gray.
Exactly. It was
Gothic
interesting.
architecture.
It was
so
interesting.
Cool.
And we went to the museum there.
Yeah.
And I will have to say this, people. I'm sorry to every museum I've ever visited.
This one wins.
This was the best museum I've ever been to, but I'm going to tell you something. If memory serves me correctly, if you like dinosaurish stuff, okay, and I'm talking dinosaurish stuff, the La Brea Tar Pits will blow that one away. Because the La Brea Tar Pits is like 100% dinosaur.
Well, I've been to a better dinosaur museum than this museum was.
Which is?
It's in Drumheller, Alberta. And it's a dinosaur
Love
museum.
the name of the place, Drumheller.
Mm-hmm.
I love the name. I'm going to name my next child Drumheller.
Please don't.
Boy, it's a boy or a girl name. I can just call them Drumheller. Either way, what a name. I love it.
So your wiener dog's going to be named Drumheller. Okay.
Yes, Drumheller.
It's all one word.
I understand, Drumheller.
Okay.
Not drum, Heller.
Just wanted you to know, it's all one word.
Yeah, one big old long wiener dog name word.
So this museum, all the way in Melbourne, Australia, had a Triceratops skeleton from Montana, of all places.
Yeah.
It had
And
just
was
arrived.
complete. It was complete.
It was cool.
I mean, it was rad. We're going to be putting out a YouTube video on my MJM Vlogs channel that we'll be putting in the notes down below. And we're going to put out a video that it'll have that in there. You can check it out. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was probably the coolest museum I ever went to. They had gems, right? Remember, you were looking at the gems.
There were
for your
so
brother.
many rocks.
Yeah, there were thousands and thousands. I mean, and there was different colors, shapes,
It
sizes.
was like a geologist's fantasy museum in there.
Yeah, and then like when we went to the other side, and they had like fossil bones from different dinosaur species, like things.
Yeah, that was really cool too.
That was interesting to me because you don't see a lot of that. And then like the fish that they had there.
Like live ones.
Yeah.
They were neat too. And
was
then there
really
was
rad.
there was an Australia exhibit that was really, really cool that we walked all through.
You know why that part was cool, the Australia part?
Why? Because we don't know
We
anything
knew
about
nothing
Australia.
about Australian history. It's
Right.
not something you learn here. They literally are halfway around the world. They're not a
It's-
factor to us.
It's aggressively similar to Canadian history, though. Like, it's
Yeah.
so similar.
Well, but it makes sense.
The same colonists did
Right.
both places. I mean,
Right.
it does make sense.
It makes sense. But here's the thing. That was interesting to me because those were things I just didn't know.
Right.
And like it's funny. The football there is so important to them that it was even part of the historical narrative at the History Museum.
Yep.
And it like that sort of sucked me in because I like the football. So then I'm reading about how the history of that happened, and it's like, oh, and then this happened at that time, and that happened at that time, and that happened at that time. It was really rad. Like
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
The only part of that museum that sucked was the gift shops because we didn't buy anything.
It was
nothing
aimed
really
at little
cool.
kids.
Yeah.
The gift shop. It really was.
Yeah.
And I mean, perhaps that just shows you a difference in culture.
Well, let's be real. That museum primarily exists for school tours because there was like 6 school tours went through that in the 2 or 3 hours we were there.
That's true. That is true.
Then we had dinner. Then we went to our hotel. None of that was super exciting.
Where did we have dinner that night?
On
Didn't-
the Italian street thing. I don't remember what it was called.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, we had Italian food.
Yeah.
Really early Italian food.
Because that's right. Because the museum was right there, and then the Italian food street. Oh my God, what was it called? I can't remember what it was called. I'm sorry, people, but
Yeah,
we went there,
and it was amazing.
It was. We had our choice of many places that looked amazing, and for some reason, I don't know why we just chose that one.
Because
we both
we-
kind of looked at each other and like, yeah, this one.
We were going to get a coffee, remember, because we got there before 5 o'clock and
Right.
everything opened at 5 o'clock. And this place, the place that we went to, just happened to be open, have a full menu, and have coffee, and be open before 5.
Right.
So that's why we picked
So then
there.
we ended up deciding to eat because we were both hungry.
Right. Then we
Yeah.
went back to our motel. That was nothing super exciting. The next day, however, was a little bit interesting as well. That's when we went to that Melbourne jail. And it was creepy and weird and gross and creepy and weird and gross and strange and cool.
All of those things.
Like, repeatedly, all of those things.
But I'm going to tell you guys something.
It smelled funny.
One thing that I got out of it was we were in this one cell and I was talking about how this particular guy is the reason they stopped doing the death penalty in Australia because they found out that they accused him and convicted him and then executed him for killing a 12-year-old girl, and he didn't do it. And he always maintained his innocence, but he kind of was, framed and then, whatever. But anyway, it inspired a book.
You know what's interesting? He would have been dead before they exonerated him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. But what happened was they created a book about it. He got pardoned, which is a good thing because it means he has no record. But I mean, it's funny because it was, after his death.
Like
I mean,
60 years after
what
his
does it
death.
matter, And like you said,
Yeah.
even when he was exonerated, he wouldn't have been alive most likely
He
anyway.
would have been like 105 years
Yeah,
old.
he
Like
wouldn't have been
0%
alive
chance.
most likely anyway,
Yeah.
So the poor guy, like he gave up a good chunk of his life, all because someone, basically set him up for a crime he didn't commit, which really sucks. Like that just sucks.
But then they showed us, like, they had a padded cell. This guy gave us a tour thing of the
We
other...
went to this
the watch house.
newer police station.
Right.
We went, the older police station rather. We went there to see that, and that's mentioned in the book. It's that police station. It's
Yeah,
mentioned there.
it was really neat.
We had a good time though. That was really fun. And then
But that's pretty much when we stopped having a good time.
and then we had to get going to go to another area of town. We had to go in the car. And well, I'm going to tell you guys that one of the things we discovered in Australia is do not use Google Maps. So that means don't use Waze because they suck in Australia. You got to use Apple Maps. So Apple Maps, though, was rather confused about this area because of this thing called a hook turn. Now, let me explain to you what a hook turn is. So, normally you're about to turn right. And remember, you have to drive on the left side of the road. So you're about to make a right turn. So you're going to go from the left lane into the other left lane. Okay?
Okay.
And here you're going, and you're going to make that right turn. But no, hold on. This is a hook turn area. You have to pull all the way over to the left and wait. And now you're basically blocking the oncoming traffic. Now, the traffic going in the direction you're pointed gets the red light, and the light in the direction you wanted to turn is now green.
Now you get to
then
go.
get to make your turn. And you are now the first person in line of all of that traffic doing your hook turn. Okay, now, apparently this city, Melbourne, Australia, is the only city in the world that uses the hook turn. And I'm going to tell you is the most insanely crazy thing I've ever seen. And here's the thing. I just explained it to you extremely clearly, right? But I had to look it up on the internet and read about it and watch a YouTube video, not once but twice, in order to be that clear about it. So try imagining that you've never seen one of these things ever, and suddenly, boom, you're supposed to do the thing.
We had it all figured out except for when you could go. We thought you just waited until both directions of traffic were clear and then you went. But really, you had to wait till the light was red and then you could go.
Right.
So
and
now,
that's the thing. We didn't have that part figured out at all. And how do you? There's nothing that explains it.
now that you know how they work, would they still stress you out as much?
They're going to stress me out, period. It's a dumb concept.
It is.
But hear me out now. Hear me out. So now I have to deal with that shit. And then the parking is like, it advertises 30 minutes, but when you get out of the car, it's 15 minutes. So that doesn't help. And even 30 minutes, not a lot of help for what we were trying to do.
Yeah, we wanted to walk around the downtown area and find somewhere cool for lunch and see all these little sites that Ash had told us about.
So I was getting more and more angry because I couldn't fucking turn to the right, which was the direction we wanted to go. Imagine there's a cube and you're 2 inches away from the dead center, and the dead center is where you want to be. Mm-hmm. But you have to keep going 2 inches away, 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 and you can't get any closer. And it's driving you fucking nuts because you know that if you could just make a right turn,
problem would be solved.
the problem would be solved, but they're too moronic. I'm sorry, Australians, but whoever designed this was a fucking moron. Let's not let them turn right. Let's make them turn left. Then let's make them go way across a bridge. Then let's make them turn left again, come back across the other bridge, and instead of letting them turn right where they were, now they're going to come in straight from the other side and get to the part that they want to get to. Then they can turn right. No, don't let them turn right an inch further down the map. Make them go an inch up, but in a roundabout way. Then you can turn right. Why? Who thinks that's smart?
We eventually found parking. Eventually.
Thank God
it took
for that.
an hour.
And then I got angry because then the stupid Treasury building, no masks anywhere, man, in Australia. No masks anywhere. We did not have to mask up anywhere. Except for the Treasury building. They wanted you to wear masks. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. After I've been everywhere and I don't have a mask with me and I got to walk back to the car, no, not happening. And I was so pissed.
We wandered around the downtown, though.
But we walked around the downtown. It was beautiful. I mean, I got to say that I couldn't believe the architecture and like the mixture. You're not wrong about this because you said this earlier. The mixture of old with new. And yet when they would update the old. All they really did was kind of pull out, like, instead of red bricks, gray and black bricks to give it more of a
Gothic?
Gothic look.
Yes.
Right. Like, look like Gotham
Like
City. It really
old
did.
Gothic cathedral meets ultra-modern glass tower.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they made one of the towers. I was reading about it. They made it look like the fin of a surfboard. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be cutting through the water. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
pretty
a
neat.
rad concept. And I can imagine what it looks like when you're flying over, like in a helicopter.
But we saw that cathedral thing that I wanted to see that was really cool. We
was
went and
rad.
looked at the train station, which had some really cool architecture. We walked around all the downtown blocks.
That was an example of new on the inside,
Yeah.
original on the outside.
Yeah. And then we tried to find somewhere to eat, but like everything
That was
like
impossible.
crappy fast food or like $5 signs. Yes, I know it only goes
Yeah.
to $4 signs, but
Well,
Anyway.
but it was the
$4
$4
signs?
signs on steroids.
yeah. So we eventually found this little food court thing, and then the place that had the shortest lines of all places was a Mexican food place.
Yeah, in Australia. And you know what?
It was good.
Pretty damn good. And they had like their own like salsa.
Not
It
bad.
was pretty spicy. It was pretty tasty
I
too.
expected it to be meh,
And it was way
and
better
I would eat
than
it
meh.
again.
Yeah, it was way better than meh. I would put it on the low end of like, wow, give it a maybe, I don't know, out of a 10, give it a
wasn't-
6.5, 7.
It wasn't wow in terms of Mexican food,
No,
but
like
it was
6.5.
good.
It was like 6.5, 7.
Yeah, and mine was better than yours because you said your beef tasted like pot roast, which is a little strange.
Well, I let you taste it, and
Yeah.
you agreed with me. Like, it
Uh-huh.
was weird. It had, like, instead of being, like, Mexican seasoned, it was more seasoned like pot roast. Like, it tasted like the pot roast I make.
I think they just slow roasted it with like garlic and onion and stuff.
Well, it's true because I use, I use the salad dressing packs as the secret to mine, and I use ranch for the creaminess, and I use Italian for the zestiness, and that's where like the garlic and all the other, so it kind of matches their
Zesty.
thing. But they didn't use any kind of like chili powder,
No,
chili peppers, nothing. It was just like that, like garlic, and it just tasted like pot roast. It was weird.
Strange.
It was the strangest thing it was like a pot roast taco. It was
Yeah.
weird. It was freaking weird.
but not gross, just
No, it
strange.
was just strange. And then we went to this place. It was called the world's biggest lolly shop.
That place was rad.
They had so much candy
We bought
by
so
the
much candy,
pounds, and we bought so much candy while we were there. It was insane.
like a whole bucket
bro.
of gummies.
It was insane, bro.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much the end of our trip.
Then we had dinner, and the next day we traveled
we had
home.
dinner at the hotel. We had really nice dinner. You had fish, I had steak. They gave us like salad and vegetables and
I
potatoes.
had chicken, not fish.
Did you have chicken? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, same thing. Chicken, fish. It's your thing. You like those things, so
You like chicken?
I know, but not as much as you. You love chicken. I just like chicken.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, all that time losing weight, only eating chicken, kind of destroyed my like for chicken. Kind of like this new diet of mostly being focused on beef is kind of killing my enjoyment of beef.
Well, back to chicken we go.
So, it's just interesting, how that
Interesting.
works. But anyway, you're not wrong. Then the next day, really all we can say is we traveled home. I mean, it was pretty smooth.
Yeah.
There was a slight delay in our departure. Slight, though. It was
like only like 20 minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't terrible.
We'll tell you that flying with Qantas was much better than flying with Fiji.
And that's saying something because Fiji wasn't so bad,
Well,
other than the
long trip was.
The flight attendants kind of sucked.
But the food was better on Qantas. The service
Yes.
was almost
well, and
annoyingly
Qantas
good.
also made it very clear that if you needed more salad or if you needed another sandwich or whatever, just let them know and they'll bring
Yeah.
it to you. Like there was no qualms about that. It isn't like they just gave you enough for one meal.
Well,
They made sure you were taken care of.
The Fiji food was kind of sketchy.
Yeah, it was weird, is what I would
The
say.
Qantas food was overall really good. Like we get like a fruit bowl or something for breakfast
Yeah, I got fruit
and yogurt and a muffin.
with granola and a muffin.
Yeah,
It was really good.
much better than the eggs and sausage that you
The
had as another
microwaved
option.
eggs
Yeah.
with the weird sausage. Yeah.
Yeah, not
No,
great.
thanks. No, staying away from that.
Yeah, I didn't want to go down that road a second time.
No. Oof. No. It was so bad the first time that I just didn't even want to go through it again. No, thank you.
Then we time traveled, so we left there at 4:30 p.m. We arrived here at 5:30 p.m. all in the same day.
Only 1 hour, the whole flight. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was the quickest 1 hour, man. And I mean, I slept for more than an hour on the flight, so I don't know how it only took an hour. But hey, I'll take it. It only took an hour.
Good stuff.
We left Friday at 4:30. We landed Friday at 5:30.
Do you know on that
crazy.
that flight, I watched the entire season of and Just Like That again, and then I watched a movie.
Well, and then the last thing to say is, Mitch has grown up so much. Like, first off, the 2 weeks he was here by himself, he turned into like this little adult. He took the car to the car wash. He cleaned the kitchen. I mean, he did all sorts of weird things, like he doesn't normally do. But then,
and then you realize he doesn't like doing these things, and he stopped.
Well, okay, whatever. But
like every other adult,
he came and he picked us up at the airport. Yeah. He didn't have any problem getting there. He got a nice parking spot.
He did
really well, and we got the fuck out of there. And that was that. I mean, we got home and life went back to normal. I mean,
and now the Australians are here.
Yeah, now the Australians are visiting us.
Strange.
So, but they're really only here for like a quick touchdown, and then they're out of here. So.
Yeah. But that was our trip to Australia. I hope you enjoyed the hours that we spent talking about it. It was a long trip. We had lots to say.
Yeah, we had a really good time when we were there. We really did, and we would like to go back again someday.
Just maybe no hook turns this time.
No hook turns, though. With that.
Fewer sprained ankles.
Yes, no sprained ankles next time.
With that, good night, everyone.
Still a bye-bye, Mr. Kangaroo.
Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.